Beowulf by Michael Mapergo. Hear and listen well, my friends, and I will tell you a tale that has been told for 1,000 years and more. It may be an old story, yet, as you will discover, it troubles and terrifies us now as much as ever it did our ancestors, for we still fear the evil that stalks out there in the darkness and beyond. We know that each of us in our time, in our own way, must confront our fears and grapple with this monster of the night, who, given a chance, would invade our homes and even our hearts, if he could. So roll back the years now, back to the 5th century after the birth of Christ, and come with me over the sea to the Norselands we now know as Sweden and Norway and Denmark, to the ancient Viking lands of the Danes and the Geats, the Angles and the Jutes. This will be our here and now, as a tale of courage and cruelty unfolds as brave Beowulf battles with the forces of darkness, first with that foul fiend Grendel, then with his sea hag of a mother, and last of all, with the death dragon of the deep. The story begins as all stories do before it begins, for there is always a mother before a mother and a king before a king. In Denmark, all the great lords, those royal descendants of Sigrid, that great and good king, followed in his footsteps and stayed strong against their foes and loyal to their friends. The kingdom prospered. From their conquest the land grew rich, so that the people flourished and were happy. Feared by the enemies, loved by the allies, the kingdom of the Danes became great and powerful in the world. Then the Lord Hrothgar came to the throne, son of the old King Helfdene, great-grandson of Sigrid, and he was to become the greatest warrior king of them all. Fierce in battle, he fetched them back home more treasures from his conquest than had ever been seen before, or even dreamt of in Denmark. But he was generous too, and a good father to his people, so that they obeyed him always gladly. Hearing of his increasing glory in battles, more and more warriors came to join him. It seemed to them and to him that there could never be an end to all his power and wealth. The kingdom was safe from its enemies, the people warm at their hearths and well fed. Truly, it was a land of sweet content. To celebrate the years of prosperity and plenty, Hrothgar decided he would raise for his people a huge mead hall. It must, he declared, be larger and more splendid than any mead hall ever built. Only the best timbers were used, only the finest craftsmen. At Hrothgar's bidding, they came from all over Denmark to construct it, so that in no time at all the great hall was finished. It was truly even more magnificent than he had ever imagined it could be. Heorot, he called it. And at the very first banquet he gave, Hrothgar, by way of thanks, gave out to each and every person rings and armbands of glowing gold. No king could have been kinder, no people as proud and as happy. Night after night they feasted in Heorot, and listened to the music of the harp and song of the poet. And every night the poet told them that story they most loved to hear, how God had made the earth in all its beauty, its mountains and meadows, seas and skies, how he had made the sun and the moon to light it, the corn and the trees to grow on it, how he gave life and being to every living creature that crawls and creeps and moves on land or in the sea or in the air. A man, too, he had made to live in this paradise. Around the warming hearth they listened to the poet's story, enraptured, enthralled and entranced. But there was another listener. Outside the walls of Heorot, in the dim and the dark, there stalked an enemy from hell itself, the monster Grendel, sworn enemy of God and men alike, a beast born of evil and shame. He heard that wondrous story of God's good creation, and because it was good, it was hateful to his ears. He heard the sweet music of the harp, and afterwards the joyous laughter echoing through the hall as the mead horn was passed around. Nothing had ever so enraged this beast as night after night he had to listen to all this happiness and harmony. It was more than his evil heart could bear. Okay guys, so these are comprehension questions, which means you can retrieve the answers directly from the text. Number 1, the story takes place in the 1st century after the birth of Christ, the 3rd century after the birth of Christ, the 4th century after the birth of Christ, or the 5th century after the birth of Christ. Number 2, the name of the brave warrior is Hrothgar, Beowulf, Grendel, or Helfdene. Number 3, the name of the monster is Hrothgar, Beowulf, Grendel, or Healfdene? Number 4. To celebrate the years of prosperity, Hrothgar decided to build a new mead hall, a new castle, a new kingdom, a new banquet. And number 5. Night after night they listened to the music of the poet, song, hearth, or harp. We hope you've enjoyed the start of the story of Beowulf. We look forward to catching up with you in our group sessions and discussing your thoughts and answers. Each week we will set you more pages to read and activities around what you have read. Stay safe. Dave, Sally, Denise, Melissa, Alana and Paul.